So what I'm going to do in this video, basically I've got 4 cups. So if we remove these, you can see, get rid of that inner tube. These are 4 Hope bottom bracket cups. They're in different conditions. Some are better than others. And what I want to do is take the best bearings out and put them in the best cups. One of the bearings is actually seized, so we're going to replace that. We're actually going to replace 2 of them with these 2 brand new Enduro bearings. So if you did come here and you wanted to know what sizes are, I'm going to measure them right now so that you can just kind of do it yourself. So you can see that one's a 37, so the thickness of it is 7, and we don't have to measure the inside. Well, we can do, but I already know it's a 24mm because this is what the cranks are that go into these bottom brackets. And there you go, it's coming up 23.7. So you've got a 37, a 24 and a 7. So when you're looking for bearings, if you put those numbers in, you should be able to find something. So yeah, it's kind of straightforward really. There are some dust seals on top, which I need a long nose set of pliers, or you could potentially get that off with that way. This plastic here, so this is a dust seal, it just stops all the crud getting onto the bearing. It's completely separate from the bearing, so you can actually hold that bearing still and move that by itself. There's like a little groove, so it just kind of slots into the groove underneath. Not the best tool actually. I think a little flat end screwdriver probably be best. You just want to try and get under a little bit of it, and once you kind of shoehorn part of it out, the rest kind of comes with it. Try it from the inside. There we go. So what you do is just kind of slide it in there. So there you go. There's your dust seal for that one. Take this one out as well. Seems better to go underneath and just try and lever it back. There we go. And there's your other dust seal. I've only got 2 of the dust seals, so I can't put it on all of them. These bearings actually feel fine, but we're going to take all of them out because we only really need 2 of them, and then the other 2 cups will get the blue bearings. So yeah, that one's fine, that one's fine, that one's fine, and this one is basically seized. There's very little movement on that, so I think that will be a candidate for removal. So when it comes to removing them, you have a few options. You could actually do this on the bike. You would look for a bearing puller. So let me go and grab one and I'll just show you what that is. But yeah, that's a bearing puller. So ultimately this is the wrong size for this one, so we won't be able to do it, but that would go in there. And what you would do is tighten this up. And then what that does is open that outwards, so the diameter would get bigger and bigger, and then that would get stuck behind the bearing. And then you put a slide hammer on there, and as you yank the slide hammer, it would pull that out. We're not going to do that because I don't have a bottom bracket shell or a bike that this fits to, so that would probably work very well if it's still in your bike. But what we're going to do is we're going to grab the proper tool for this one because it's kind of seized in there, so I'm kind of guessing that that's going to be in bad condition, in a bad way. So yeah, the proper tool is this, and I don't even know the name of it. It's a Hope tool, but that essentially just fits into there and you've got a perfect fitment. The other way to do it would just, if you had like a drift or something like that, not one of this, you could smash the bearing out from inside. The bad thing is there's a tiny little lip, you haven't got much really to grip onto, and that's why this is superior. Let me pick one of these ones. So yeah, there's another thing that I use as well, which is this, and it's just got these ridges inside, and that just keeps the bearing off of the surface, off of the ground, so you've got space to knock the bearing out. So that's backwards, so we're going to put that into there like so. It's a bit of a tight fit, which is unusual. There we go. And just make sure you've got enough clearance for the bottom bracket bearing to come out of. Seems a bit better on that side. can see that bearing's not going to hit into anything. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try and use the drift first, just as a kind of example really. And this bearing's not too bad, so we want to look after it and keep it. Oh, that's out already. So yeah, 2 shots, 2 hits, and it's already out. Doesn't look too bad there, but looks like someone might have recently have taken this out, I guess. It is a used bottom bracket. But yeah, there's a lot of grease in there. Just absolutely lovely. Shouldn't have done that. So yeah, there's your bottom bracket cup. And then you should be able to see the little groove just in there for your dust seal to sit into. So yeah, I'm just going to do that with all the cups. I'm just going to use the proper tool on the next cup just as a demonstration. So yeah, we'll try this old manky kind of seized bearing, because I don't think the drift would have whacked that out too easily. Would have been hard work. Make sure you got that clearance again, and then we're going to use this, which just fits perfectly into the slot. And it kind of means that you can kind of hit the bearing a bit more equally. Yeah, try and hold it without it. There we go, 1 shot, and that one's out as well. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Obviously this bottom bracket bearing's done for. So yeah, I'm going to just bin that one. And there's your other cup. There's a bit of damage on this one. Just where the dust seal goes, it's quite badly worn. Probably won't be able to see it too well on the camera. But yeah, it might be a bit of an issue to get a dust seal in there. Or might be why it's seized. Maybe they crashed their bike or something, I don't know. But yeah, so I'm just going to do the same thing with the other 2 cups. So all I've done basically is just get a rag and a cotton bud and some alcohol spray, and I'll just clean these up. But yeah, I'm just going to run these dry and push them in. I wouldn't really grease up a headset for the same reason. Just make sure the surfaces are clean. They're machined to a high enough standard that the fitment should be good. So yeah, and the other thing is, if you are doing this, you might as well clean these threads up, because they get pretty gummed up, and if you try and put like a dirty thread into your frame, it might be a little bit gritty and a bit grainy. So what I do is I tend to just spray. I put some alcohol spray on there, which breaks down a lot of the grease and whatnot, and I've got this very small little sharp screwdriver. I'm just push that along there, and yeah, it's pretty time consuming. And then after a while, give it another spray, try and get rid of some of the residue. But yeah, I'm just gonna go around all them and clean up the threads. So these have all been cleaned up now, and I've decided that these 2 cups are the best. Obviously you need different ones, so as you can see they've got different thread lengths for the non-drive side and the drive side, so it's not like you can just use whatever combo. It has to be the best of each one. So yeah, in these ones I'm going to put in the best set of Hope bottom bracket bearings, and in these ones I'm going to put the blue bearings in there, and I'm going to show you 2 different methods, I guess, of pressing in the bearings. One's a bit more, you need a specialist tool, and the other one's potentially what a lot of people could do at home. Just giving a basic. Yeah, so all we've done with these was basically just test them. Just spin them really, make sure they're nice and quiet, and that they're nice and smooth. The other thing you want to test as well is there kind of any like left and right play. Can you hold the bearing in the middle and move the middle part without the rest of it? And on these ones I can't feel any play in them, so that's why I went with them. Like I said, I'm not going to run any grease in them, and the bearings are both the same, so it doesn't matter which one goes in which cup. So I'm just going to place that there. I might just line up the logos, Hope there, and then Hope on the bearing, just some pointless stuff that I would do. So it's just going to sit there roughly. There we go. And that one's going to sit there roughly. So now what I'm going to do is just grab a nice press. Yeah, so what we got on this one, we've just got a bearing press. This one's from eBay. It's pretty cheap, it's about £30. And you get quite a lot of different versions of this for so many different bearings. There's probably about, I don't know, maybe 20 additional presses in there. And this one's good because it fits the bearing perfectly. And that just means that you're pressing in the right place. And there's no movement in the middle, so it's not going to go in off centre. So yeah, we're just going to thread that onto there. Put the bottom bracket onto there. Get the tube as well. It doesn't really matter at this stage if it's kind of, if the bearing's not perfectly straight in there. Pop your tube on, because that's just going to allow us to squash it. Put the other cup on. Get this one ready, line that up. And then the other press goes on there. You really need to get that on a bit straighter. There we go. See, even with the right tools, I'm having a bit of an issue. It's just user error on this. I'm just going to basically try and get that into shot. There we go. And that's just going to press the bearings in place. So that's basically that side's done. Have a little look around, make sure it is nice and straight going in. And then you kind of get to a point where it really doesn't want to go any further. Don't push it any harder than you need to. Really, basically like that much pressure. So it seems quite happy. And then you just unravel that and it should be done. And there is bearings that have been pressed into place. And you know they're in the right place as well, because there's kind of a little edge just in there. So if you're doing it, it kind of sits flush with that inner edge. And that also means you can get your dust seal back in. So this little kind of raised bit sits on the outside. And I'm just going to put that in there. It's best to kind of clean this up as well. You don't want any grit in there. These dust seals, I need to clean them. Because if you put them in like that, they make quite a bit of noise. But yeah, that's basically one of the methods. And now you've got a nice, you know, smooth bottom bracket there. So yeah, so we're gonna get the blue bearings inserted into the other cups and use a different method for that. I thought I would kind of show how these dust seals go back on. Depends how clean the little area is that you're going to put into, how good they go in. So yeah, if it's quite dirty in there, obviously it's going to be more difficult to push it into the gap. But sometimes you can just click a bit in like that. Try not to damage it too much. There we go. And that's your dust seal in place. Yeah, I think that one needs to go in a little bit further, somewhere along here. There we go. And then just kind of get that in shot. Just go around the edge like that and make sure it's in place. And it has that ability to spin by itself. So yeah, they do make a lot of noise though. It's a bit annoying because the crank's going to be on there. But that's just the way they are. So yeah, going to get onto the blue bearings now. So yeah, this is going to be the other option. We've basically just put a bit of wood in the vise because I didn't want to clamp against these threads. I didn't want to put the metal against here because you'd end up damaging it. It's quite important that you try and get this bearing in nice and straight before you do clamp it, because if you start off wonky, it will basically just continue like that. It's a little bit less forgiving than using the proper press. So I just want to try and shimmy that over. So I'm just going to lay it on top because it doesn't really want to sit too flush. You can see once you get one end of it in, it's a little bit fiddly. So yeah, let me just put that in like that. I'm going to put that against the wood. And just have a little look before you do it, keep an eye on things. Obviously it means if this wood is a bit wonky, then that's not going to help. But there we go, we're just going to press that in up to there. So we've only gone flush with that. And you might be thinking, well, you know, that's not really any good, because if we did have a dust seal, we couldn't fit it on there. And that's where your old bearing is going to come in useful. And that's just going to sit on top like that. So obviously you've got to open the jaws a bit wider now. And just make sure you line everything up. I'm just going to tighten it a little bit, just enough to hold it, and just check that everything's in the right place really. It's all looking good. Just come over a bit. And then what you can do is just tighten that. And a little bit like the lever, it just kind of gets to a point where you're not really making any progress with it. So I'm not going to tighten it anymore. And that's what you've got the wood there for as well. So if you press too hard, it's going to deform the wood rather than push the bearing in too far. And there you go. There is me out of shot again, because I don't know where the camera is. There you go. You can see it's nice and flush with that inner edge. So yeah, just do that with the other one and you've got basically brand new cups in your bottom bracket. My goodness, why can't I find where the lens is? There we go. Yeah, basically just a final shot. There they are, all together. So hopefully that was of some use to someone out there and I didn't kind of waffle on for too long. Cheers, bye bye.